All righty, it's 7 p.m. and it's time again for the Larkspur Planning Commission. Um, let's take a roll call.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
I am here.
Commissioner Campbell,
Present.
Chair Swisher,
Here.
Commissioner Chalmers,
Here.
and Commissioner Paul.
Here.
Everyone is present.
Great. So first item is public comment on matters that are not on the agenda. So if you have, is there anybody here or on Zoom who has any issues that are not on the agenda that they'd like to address? All right, hearing none, let's go for the next item, which is Community Development Director's Report.
All right. I will give you just a quick rundown in Elise's absence here. Two of your recent projects, 64 Francis was appealed to the City Council. They upheld your decision and denied the appeal. And 201 Hawthorne, which I believe you heard a couple meetings ago, that has been appealed and that will go before the council on next Wednesday, the 2nd. And the last item, in case you're interested or you've been following along with it, the historic structure report for City Hall had come out and was discussed at this last City Council meeting. And for now, that process is on hold where they have an ad hoc committee to debate next steps and determine public outreach. And that's all I have for you.
All right. I just questioned Owlswood. Was that was appealed?
Owlswood was appealed, and that one was, the appeal was denied.
Denied as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're batting 3-0 or whatever. All right. So next public hearings. First one on up is 111 Wiltshire Avenue, APN 021-134-04. Application PLN 25-004, Rich Viola, applicant owner, R1 First Residential Zoning District, residential low density. This is a request for demolition of the existing residence and construction of a new 4,004 square foot, two-story single-family residence with an attached 485 square foot garage. It is here for design review for a new residence, a front setback variance to encroach into the required 20-foot front yard setback, 2.2 foot 4 inches from the property line at the closest point, a floor area ratio exception for 0.4 FAR, which is 4,489 square feet, where 0.27 or 2,556 square feet is the maximum permitted, a slope use permit for 344 cubic yards of cut and fill, a heritage tree removal for removal of 2 coastal redwood trees. All right, and I live right next door to 111 Wiltshire, so I must recuse myself, and I will step down and let whoever the vice chairman is, Liam, take over.
Get out of here. All right. Thank you, Jeff. Can we have the staff report, please?
Yes, excuse me. Okay, good evening, commissioners. The item before you is PLN 2504 for 111 Wiltshire Avenue. It is not June 10th, it is the 24th. I apologize, I did not update the date. This item was continued from the June 10th meeting. The project is located, it has a Wiltshire address, but it's located along Ardmore and Upper Ardmore Road, and it's a generally flat lot with an embankment that slopes up towards the right-of-way. It is currently 111 Wiltshire. If approved, the fire department will readdress it. It will become 8 Upper Ardmore Road, so it's a little bit easier to find in case of an emergency. The project, as you've heard from Jeff, proposes demolition of the existing residence and construction of a new 4,004 square foot, 2-story residence with an attached 485 square foot garage. It requires approval of design review, a floor area ratio exception, a setback variance, a slope use permit, and a heritage tree removal permit. And here is the site plan. These kind of darker bold lines here, that's the actual property line. It's one of the lots like others you've seen recently where the edge of the paved right-of-way is not necessarily where the property line falls. So this bold line here is the property line, and if you can kind of see this dashed line that kind of runs next to the ridge here, that would be the 20-foot setback from the property line. And this line here is the 20-foot setback from the Upper Ardmore property line. And then this side here is actually the rear of the lot with a 15-foot setback. And here's the proposed first floor plan. The first floor includes the garage, mainly a living space, and a guest bedroom. And the second floor contains the majority of the bedrooms and bathrooms. And then the north elevation, the one on top there, that's what you would see as you come up Ardmore Road. The east elevation, that's the elevation that's adjacent to the neighbor, only adjacent neighbor technically with the shared property line. And the south elevation is what you'd see as you round Upper Ardmore, and the west elevation would be what you see at the kind of the apex of the turn there. The applicant did provide some rendering. So the one on top is a shot from the driveway, which shows the home, and then the lower one is an overhead view of the proposed residence and the site improvements. And as designed, the project proposes a floor area ratio of 0.4, where due to the slope of the lot, the allowed floor area ratio is 0.27. It would be the largest floor area of the surrounding 28 properties, not necessarily the largest home in terms of overall square footage. I would just note that, as we've talked about, these numbers are generated from the county's information and may not be perfectly exact. They don't distinguish between overall square footage and floor area the same way that the city does. And the average floor area in the neighborhood is 0.21. Staff finds that the design proposes appropriate mass reducing techniques and is supportive of the exception. The project requires a setback variance, as we've discussed. The property line is not at the edge of the public right of way, and so the setback envelope is actually very small. Just again for reference, this dashed line here is the 20-foot setback from the front property line, and along here at this corner, that is where it's at its closest point, 2 feet 4 inches. And then at the rear of the structure, this is about, I think it's 7 foot 3 inches from the property line. And the project proposes 172, cubic yards of cut and 172 cubic yards of fill. And that's going to be, all the cut will be reused on site, so there'll be no off-haul trips as it's currently proposed. And lastly, the project does require the removal of a few heritage trees. There are 2 heritage redwood trees, which are these 2 highlighted X's here. And then the other 3 are bay trees. Now, the bay trees are defined as a fire-prone tree and have been deemed a hazard by the fire department. So the only 2 that are up for a decision this evening are the 2 redwoods. And per the arborist report, the trees are fairly healthy, but they are in the vicinity of the development and should be removed. I believe the arborist report concludes that the remaining stand of redwood trees here to the rear are healthy and won't have any problems as a result of the removal of the 2 redwood trees there. You have had 2 public comments that have been received. These were received after the original hearing that this was scheduled for on the 10th. And these are from the owners of 9 Upper Ardmore and 11 Upper Ardmore, who both support the project. And so in conclusion, staff recommends that the commission hold a public hearing, take public comment, and approve the application subject to findings, conditions of approval, and a Class 3 CEQA exemption. So that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for staff?
I had a quick question. How did they determine the front yard was Upper Ardmore as opposed to Ardmore? Just out of curiosity.
So yeah, I mean, the determination was that both are the front yard. And that's just because the definitions of what a rear lot line, what a front lot line are in the municipal code are not, they weren't created with this type of lot configuration in mind. And so staff's determination at least was that the shared property line would be the rear and the rest of it would be front. If the planning commission has a different interpretation, though, we could certainly explore that.
The only thing I noticed is you can't access the house from Upper Ardmore. You would think the front setback would be, at least you'd be able to access it from Ardmore, but they're both 20 feet, so I guess it's just semantics, but I definitely stumbled around on the setbacks, but
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify a question. So the 0.04, that's the standard FAR that we would give a property that's on a completely flat lot.
Yes.
Okay.
And I want to go back to the setback comment, I wanted to look at the definitions here. So we technically believe it meets the definition of a reverse corner lot where it rears upon the side of another lot. And so under that definition, the longest street frontage is the front setback. So we just have said that the longest street frontage is the entirety of basically that side of the property.
Anything else? Do we have the applicant here that would like to say something? Sure.
Yeah, hi, Rich Viola. I'm the owner at now 11 Upper Ardmore. I found that out 10 minutes ago. That's a great choice. When I first bought the home, I didn't understand why the address was Wiltshire. Neither did PG&E or the Water District. Bought the home, really loved the whole neighborhood and loved the property, but the home just is in dire need of replacement. Obviously we're looking at a brand new build. And it's a really unique lot. When we did the survey, we were kind of shocked at where the property line fell. So in developing the new home, we tried to be incredibly mindful in our variance ask. So nothing is built within 20 feet of the road. And that was a specific line that we created in our development so that the house didn't seem too close to the street. And then ultimately, we're just asking for a variance that treats a standard lot because the slope brought us down pretty significantly. So thank you for your consideration.
Do you guys have any? Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
I guess I have one question, either for you or for Alex. I read in the staff report that the reason the 2 redwood trees had to come out was because it was in the development. Excuse me, it was in the development. Oh, this is so loud. I'm seeing it as the patio, is that correct?
Yeah, it's an outdoor site improvement. It's a patio and
Okay.
retaining wall. And per the arborist report, only 2 feet separate the trees at the base, making them overcrowded and functioning as one tree in terms of its resistance to wind forces. There are exposed roots seen below the tree on the steep embankment just above the proposed home site. And the trees are within a few feet of an existing electrical service dropped to the existing home, which create a risk of branches falling on the service lines.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? You got something? I see you waffling over them.
I'm just, maybe this is for later. I'm just wondering why there seems like a lot and the house comes so close to that one property line where to me it doesn't seem necessary. And then, it looks like okay, if Upper Ardmore, hate to get back to setbacks, is the front yard setback, it seems like then the rear yard setback would be on Ardmore, would it not? But it says rear yard setback off what used to be Wilshire access.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I mean, that's been staff's interpretation with the lot configuration that shared property line is the rear as opposed to the, where it is adjacent to Upper Ardmore. I mean, if the commission wants to interpret it differently, that say the midpoint of the arc is the transition from front to rear, it can certainly do so. That would result in a 10-foot setback from Upper Ardmore, which the project would not comply with still, and a 6-foot setback from the adjacent property line, which you could still meet.
So it wouldn't functionally it wouldn't really change the ask, it would just change the magnitude of the variance, right?
Yes, basically.
Okay, anything else? We can, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I know going back to the trees, there was, I saw in here there was a tree replacement plan. I kind of wanted to know if you're putting, and this is actually a question for you, if you're taking trees out, are you putting trees back in? Can you talk to that? Are you putting any trees back in? No.
Because the way the lot is. I mean, you have to put the trees in the.
Don't mean in the same place, just anywhere else on the property.
I mean, we're open to doing that, but that's not part of the landscape plan of the new California laws. You can't even find anything within 5 feet, so landscaping plan is actually fair than that.
Okay.
I don't want to jump in here. They do propose a few trees along Ardmore, but that would be in the public right of, technically in the public right of way, not on the actual.
But they are putting them in, because I saw something in here, but I wasn't sure where they were going or what
There
they
is a
were, or how
planting
many trees were going in.
it's the last page of the plan set. But it's mostly smaller vegetation. There are a few. Let's see if I can pull up the legend here. A few laurels proposed.
Oh, here they are. Yeah.
What does that say? I know, but so.
Oh, so it's more like bushes and foliage, that type of thing, as opposed to trees.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Put them down.
are there any public comments? Yeah, just please come up to the mic and so people on Zoom can hear you and say your name.
Eric Sagmeister. I currently reside at 108 Ardmore Road, which is directly across the proposed development of 111 Wiltshire Avenue. Me and my wife Mindy have been living there quite happily for the last 15 years. And we're obviously very pleased to see that the vacant property is being developed. It has been empty for quite some time, and we're glad to see that it's finally gone up for sale. I think it is important to note, though, that the property is not being developed because it wasn't for sale. So it's not because it's an undesirable property or not able to be developed. It literally has been vacant for that long because the nonprofit who owned it just hasn't put it up for sale except for the last 6 months. But having said that, we have several issues with the current exemption request. First, a 40% above allowable FAR is quite excessive and seems to be more indicative of a non-Larkspur resident aspiring to develop and looking to absolutely max out the property for financial gain. If you haven't already viewed the property, I most certainly encourage you to do so, because I think Brock is already seeing where there's awkwardness around the lot and where the house is. The current proposed configuration of the house in no way actually works effectively with the shape of the property line. Kind of a square peg in a round hole, if you will. There are several portions of the plan, which has actually now been cited, where the house is literally 2 to 3 feet away from a property line. Also, there is a meaningful excavation that has to happen in the front part of the house to accommodate these oversized plans, and leaves very little in the way of space for natural barriers for local residents, which is very common for the Chevy Chase neighborhood. As the excavation occurs, the reason why there are no plans for trees, because there is no flat land for plants to be planted. So as residents are driving by the street, they will be doing nothing but looking at a front door that is literally only 5-6 feet away from the actual road. Secondly, we're happy to see the removal of the bay trees, definitely from a fire safety standpoint, but we disagree with the removal of the 2 heritage redwoods. I believe they're tree number 7 and 8. I understand that there are inconvenience for the proposed retaining wall on the back side of the property, but they're perfectly healthy, happy 80-foot redwoods that do nothing but enhance the property and the Chevy Chase neighborhood. I will also cite that PG&E has been through our neighborhood several times to remove unhealthy at-risk trees, and some of them were actually redwoods. These 2 trees did not, however, fall under that category. At the end of the day, we come to understand that the Planning Commission is pro-development. We also understand that the property in its current state is a massive eyesore and it does need to be developed. We just feel it can be done with a less awkward footprint and one that doesn't completely cannibalize the beautiful space and the surroundings of the property. Beyond this, with interest rates expected to meaningfully decline over the next 12 to 18 months, I would really hate for this to set precedents for what will most certainly be more amateur aggressive developers with healthy balance sheets. And if nothing else, can we please just at least save the trees? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do you have any other public comments? Please.
I'm Janet Heineken, and I live at 11 Upper Ardmore, right across the street on the uphill side. Can you hear me? Oh, I live at 5 Upper Ardmore. And I do have to say that I really would support a meaningful, nice development of this property. My concern is that the proposed structure is just too large for the lot. And it's a highly visible lot because it's bordered on 3 sides by road. And we will be removing some of the trees that buffer that. But even with those in place, it's too large for the property. I want to just give you some numbers. The allowed square footage is 2,550 square feet. The proposed square footage is 4,489. That's 1,933 square feet more than is allowed. That's 0.76% increase. It's 1.76% of what is now allowed by the floor area ratio. And I really do know the feeling of being a property owner and saying, well, gee, I have a 3,200 square foot, no, 4,200 square foot lot. And when we remodeled our house, we were allowed 10% of that property. So actually, I said it wrong, but we were maxed out at 2,800 square feet. If we had asked for 40%, we could have built a massive structure, but that's just not the nature of those neighborhoods. And the topography does dictate what is allowed. So I would ask that the Planning Commission consider asking the owners to reconstruct this to be more fitting to the size of the property. And two last things which may or may not be relevant. I can solve the mystery of the changing address. When this was owned by the Halfway House, it was said it was on Ardmore or something. And people kept knocking on various neighborhood doors all through Ardmore at all times of night. So for some reason, it was decided to change that address to be 111 Wilshire, so the Ardmore people would be protected. So that's that. And I don't really have anything to say about the setbacks, though I think I would comment that when we built, because of the setback variance, we had to put our top story that we added 3 feet back from the existing structure because we were non-conforming, even though we had 3,200 square feet. So, we all run into these issues and we make them work. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments?
Hi, Kara Wired. My husband Andrew and I live at 87 Wiltshire. So we're, I believe, the only house that shares the property line with this project. So by way of background, 4 years ago, we moved into our home with our 2-year-old son and newborn daughter. We fell in love with the natural beauty of the neighborhood and its heritage trees, abundant wildlife, and friendly neighbors. It has a rustic wildness, but also walkable to downtown and local schools. Our yard has and will, I hope, continue to be the site of birthday parties, afternoon soccer, treehouse play, outdoor meals, and weekend gardening. It's a respite from our daily lives, and we treasure its peaceful privacy and tranquility. While we appreciate that the applicant incorporated thoughtful elements into the design, including limiting the height over the garage, which sits closest to our property, in our exchanges over the last few weeks, it's become clear that the primary goal is to maximize the lot and profitability. The combination of setback and FAR variances result in a structure that seems excessively large for the neighborhood and lot and will negatively impact our privacy and ultimately home value. After reviewing the proposed plans, we're concerned about the following. Number one, the overall size. The existing house, as noted, is 2,400 square feet, and this new home would be nearly double at 4,500 square feet. The change in grade means that this house is uphill from ours, and the substantially larger structure will loom and negatively impact the privacy of our home and yard in ways that the existing structure does not. While we understand that a redevelopment is inevitable, we think a slightly smaller structure could still accommodate similar bedroom and bathroom configuration as ours does in a smaller footprint. For context, our home's 3,500 square feet, but the lot is 50% larger. Number two, shadow impact. We have concerns about the shadow impact of such a large structure uphill to our home yard, which could result in reduced sunlight and increased heating costs. Number three, the setback variance, as others have noted, the requirement to have only 2 feet setbacks on the side street does seem concerning. It seems like, well, 20 feet might not be achievable. Something like 5 to 7 would be more reasonable. In the end, we hope the applicant will be respectful of us and our fellow neighbors' feedback, despite the fact that they will likely not occupy the home themselves. We recognize that we have to live with the construction disruption for several years and are excited about the prospect of a new home that will fit in with the scale of the neighborhood while preserving the tranquility that drew us here originally. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
Hi there, my name is Andrew Crawford. I'm Kara's husband, and I also live at 87 Wiltshire. Similar to my wife's comments, I'm an engineer by trade, and I think that the key things that I noticed and that stood out to me when we saw the house was just the sheer magnitude of it. Both my daughter and my son's bedroom window look directly up into what would be the garage, but from that, you basically have the elevation of the second story of the house. The bathroom also looks onto that, and I think without living there for 4 years, you wouldn't really know this, but the sun has a pretty proximal range of variance in the sky throughout the seasons. In the wintertime, it's very dark. And so any light we get in the wintertime is great and kind of sacred, if you will. And I think the hard part is when you start to add structures on top of that you can clearly see from the bedrooms in the house, it just diminishes that sunlight and the livelihood that we have. I think the second thing from a engineering standpoint is it's a lot of excavation. And the last couple of years, we've had very significant rains, as everybody's clearly aware. Water runoff and drainage is a huge concern. And while there are current drainage systems in place, whenever you modify the existing surroundings, we run a very, very high risk of intrusion and being directly beneath that. That's what I'm concerned about. Luckily, Rich has provided us some, mitigations and plans from the contractor that said, they've looked at this. I don't know though, and no one knows until we actually build that and go through it, especially when you remove trees just with soil erosion and everything else. So, we do appreciate, Rich, some of the accommodations that you made when we reached out to him. I think in sentiment with everybody else here, though, it's just the size is big. I think one thing that hasn't really been mentioned yet is we don't know if Rich is going to live there, if this is going to be a for sale house. And I think that the hard part that I'm having with that is we moved to this neighborhood for a reason, for community. We have kids, and it would be really nice to keep that mentality going and rather than just maximize this for profit. So I think that's the hard part that I'm having with it. I would encourage anybody that wants to come over to our house. You can take a look at it and just see the sight lines from bedrooms, from the windows, understanding that, most houses do have sight lines of other houses. I think what's hard for me is the sunshine and any mitigation against that, especially in the seasonal here in the rain, is tough. So that's what I'm having a hard time with. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm Paul Heineken from 5 Upper Ardmore, taking the extraordinary risk of correcting my wife. Yes, we're 5 Upper Ardmore, not 11. Our property is about 2/3 of an acre, so it's close to 30,000 square feet, and we're on a steep slope, and we're only allowed 2,400 square feet. So it's 26 there. Now we're even. So that, but the point here is it should be appropriate for the neighborhood. And without going, and Janet correctly pointed out the reason for the change in the address, which really was the most appropriate address we could come up with at the time, 20 years ago. The other thing that's of historical note here is that it used to be surrounded by a huge stand of eucalyptus trees that I personally take credit for having gotten rid of with PG&E, Marin Community Foundation, the city, the neighbors, everybody, which made it actually an acceptable living place. 2 eucalyptus are left at the top corner of that lot. Any tree plan has to remove them, please. Okay, that's all I have to add. What? Oh, yeah, and if we go ahead with a 4,000 square foot house, is it not eligible to put in an 800 square foot ADU? Think of that. That really makes it inappropriate. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments in the room? Is there anybody on Zoom?
Yes, there are 2 hands raised on Zoom. The first one's a phone number ending in 1402, which should be able to unmute and speak now.
James Holmes Larkspur. I see no reason to remove the 2 redwood trees. According to the arborist's report, quote, the trees appear to be healthy, unquote, not fairly healthy, healthy. The report also says that they shelter the other shorter redwoods from the wind. There is absolutely no hazard showing. The arborist report mentions, quote, some risk if branches were to fall, unquote. This, of course, is true for all trees. There's no suggestion that branches are especially likely to fall in this case. Similarly, the staff report mentions, quote, a risk to infrastructure should any branches or the trees themselves fall. Again, true for all trees, but no special concern here. The removal recommendation is unsupported. The arborist report refers generally to, quote, location above structures, unquote. This is not a basis for removal absent specific hazard. Speculative risk and actual hazard are not the same. The report also mentions overcrowding. Redwoods grow in groves and their roots interlock. There is a reference to exposed roots, but there is no showing that that poses a problem here. The staff report speculates that, quote, roots are likely to suffer from proposed construction, unquote. But the arborist's report itself says nothing about construction impact, let alone proposed safeguards. Construction has occurred near redwoods throughout Larkspur, and patios have been successfully laid around them. Healthy redwoods should not be removed for insubstantial reasons or speculative reasons or generic conditions applicable to all trees and which do not take into account the importance of redwoods to Larkspur's character and the general importance of mature trees as recognized by the Larkspur Climate Action Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. We've got one more on Zoom, right?
Yes, next person with a hand up is Johnny, who should be able to unmute and speak.
Hi, yeah, my name is John Heineken. I live with my wife Gia at 14 Chevy Chase, and at the risk of being repetitive, I would just like to second the comments about it just seeming like a lot of house for the lot, out of character for the neighborhood, and just feel like something, 3,000 square feet would be a very appropriate single family home in our neighborhood, but that one's pretty ostentatious. So that's all I have to add. Thank you.
Okay, and the next hand is Heather Formby, who should be able to speak now.
Hi there, I'm Heather Formby and I live at 16 Olive Avenue. And I just wanted to say that I think that the home is beautifully designed, and I know there's been a lot of homes recently that have gotten approved that have high FARs on slope lots. So I think that this should get approved. It's a beautiful design. Um, and I'm not sure where the idea of new builds decrease the value of older homes. In fact, they increase those values when you have a newer builds on a street. So I think that would help the neighbors and, their the value of their home. And then secondly, or thirdly, in regards to the redwoods, the trees that are going to be removed, Commissioner Swisher has said a few times that redwoods have shallow roots, and he supports when people want to take out redwoods, just because when you are building so close to redwoods, it could damage the tree. And so he supports taking those out. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else on Zoom?
No, no other hands.
And nobody else in the audience here? Okay. In that case, we'll close the public comment section of the meeting, and we'll bring it back to the commission for deliberation. Oh, sure. Yeah, you got questions. Go for it. That can be part of
Wanted to
deliberation.
clarify, does Commissioner Swisher believe that redwoods should be removed?
I don't know that we should be discussing any aspect of this project.
I know.
Well,
Did Commissioner Swisher actually make a comment
As a
as a member of the
member.
public?
It's been called out by
Yeah.
one of the other participants.
You,
That some redwoods do pose a risk of falling on your house, like I fell on my house last year. That tree was undermined by a stream, and it's a very particular case. I've had 2 redwood trees fall on my property, both of which were undercut by the stream. And I think that you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis to see which pose a risk of hazard to people and the property. I don't know. That's true.
Okay, thank you. I was going to tell him to come to the microphone so folks on Zoom could hear, but I guess,
do you want to address that?
sure.
Yeah, was that what you were going to ask?
Well, I was just going to yeah, if you could repeat yourself at the microphone. That way it's in the minutes too. And hopefully it's word for word.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm Jeff Swisher. I live at 88 Wiltshire Avenue, adjacent to the property. I cannot speak on this from the Planning Commission, as I am a neighbor, and I will not specifically address the issue with the trees because it is part of the report here. I can say, as far as redwood trees go, that I have had 2 redwood trees on my property fall in heavy winds. One last year, one about 15 years ago, one of which fell directly on my house, doing more than $150,000 worth of damage. The other one fell across the street, which was very dangerous. Those trees were undercut by the stream that runs on the bottom of my property, and they were literally about to go because of that undercutting. I think in general, I favor preserving redwood trees whenever we can because that is our heritage here in Larkspur. I think that on a case-by-case basis that depending on the arborist report and construction plans, et cetera, it is appropriate to remove some trees, but in general, I do not approve removing redwood trees. That is, from my personal standpoint, not related to this particular piece of property. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for coming up to the microphone. Okay, do you guys want to keep asking questions that you have?
Yeah, I had a 2 questions for the applicant. Who was your architect? Because these plans were not, I'm assuming you're not an architect, or are you an architect?
Yeah, could
Do
you
want to
come
come
up?
up?
Thanks.
He's using a freelance architect.
Okay, does he still represent you or no?
It's a woman. And
Of
yes,
the woman?
he does.
Okay. And then do you want to address what your intention is with the property once it's built?
I currently live in Tiburon
Uh-huh.
and gosh, we live in a home that was built in 1950. The idea of moving into a brand new home is actually pretty spectacular, which is why we included a lot of things that people want in newer homes. There's an office, there's a walk-in pantry, like just there's a great room. Like those are things that people are looking for, including us. So um, I don't know. I don't know if we'll move. You know, I mean, this whole neighborhood vibe now is it's like it's a little bizarre. But my wife and I have done several projects. We've moved 3 times in the last 6 years. So will we move into the home? Very likely. Will we live there for a long time? Probably not, because we've been bouncing around in Southern Marin for the last 12 years.
Got it. Thank you for addressing that.
Should we reopen public
Yeah.
comments?
Did you close them?
I did, yeah.
I thought we closed it.
Okay, we'll reopen public comments for one more, but try to keep it brief, please.
Sure. I'd like to address the neighborhood vibe being bizarre. If you've bounced around that much in Marin and you think that this type of, I think, formal, good conversation about concerns is bizarre, that's concerning to us as a neighborhood. And so you have to understand that you didn't address anything about the size in your response. You didn't say whether or not you were gonna move there. Maybe. The way that we interpret that is you're going to maximize this for size and profit and sell it. That doesn't give us confidence. So I'd like
Yeah.
to let you know that calling this neighborhood vibe.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's getting a little personal. Maybe you can take that offline, but thank you. I know that was not really appropriate. So, okay, thank you.
All right.
You did actually answer the 2 questions I asked.
Okay, we're going to close the public comment portion of this hearing and bring it back to the commission for deliberation. Should we start on this side?
I'll start. So I guess I'm was a little surprised to have all the negative comments today because we had no letters and that were negative. We only had letters that were positive. So I was under the assumption, apparently wrongly, that there was no opposition, no concerns about this. I really recommend that those of you, in the future, if you have something like this happen or somebody else decides to build something on this property, if Mr. Viola changes his mind, that you send letters ahead of time so that we are not surprised. The negativity around the project, I think it would have been nice for Mr. Viola to have had a chance to, respond to it, maybe reach out to you guys. I don't know if it doesn't sound like there's been a lot of communication. So there has been. Okay. And you guys have shared all of your concerns with him. Okay. I don't think Mr. Viola agrees with that. So, but that may be part of that bizarre vibe he talks about. Anyways, just being sarcastic. So I think I came into it thinking it's a lovely design. I think it's a beautiful looking house. You've got a really unique property there surrounded literally by the road. I remember when I drove out to it a couple weeks ago for the first time, I was like, whoa, this is wild. Like I've never seen a property like that in Larkspur and in all of my time serving on the planning commission so far. And I was like, well, what a great opportunity because the house that's on there clearly needs to be torn down. Let's build something beautiful there. I think it's a beautiful design. It might be too big. I didn't think it was that big. The current setback in the one spot that is going to be 2 feet 4, I think is currently 2 feet, right? So it's actually going to move in a little bit. That's what it
Yeah.
says in the plans. It says that it's currently 2 feet and it's going to be 2 foot 4.
I believe that's mistaken. You're talking about in the data table?
Yeah, that says on, where is that page? It's on AO.1. And it talks about the minimum setbacks. The front yard setback should be 20. Its existing is 2 feet 0 and the proposed is 2 feet 4.
It may be looking at the outline of the existing house. I would have to measure it. Here, let me see if I can share my screen actually.
No, it's the existing house is further away.
This, I don't know if it probably won't show up, but what I'm, what my cursor is highlighting at least is a dashed line that says line of existing house. And the corner is right here, if you can see the cursor, and then the property line. So it is close. I don't have the exact measurement in front of
It's
me.
close on that side, but
On that side,
on
yes,
the other
but not
side,
on the front side.
yeah, it's
No,
much
I know
different.
it's not on the front side,
But
but I'm
it's-
just saying, you know, looking at that on that side. I was gonna recommend to approve it as is. Now I'm starting to think, okay, maybe the neighbors need to be, you know, their opinions need to be, you know, at least considered. But since I thought there was no opposition to it, I thought it was gonna be good to go.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think I'll just start by saying thank you for coming out because it's, you know, you took the time out of your evening to come out. I guess it is helpful to have, from the commission's standpoint, to read comments, but I don't think that's a requirement. So this is a public forum, and the idea is that you can come out and express your opinion. So it's a nice to have, but it's not a requirement. So being here, I think we are all going to consider everything that everyone said tonight. And including on Zoom as well. So in agreement with Commissioner Hull, I also thought it was a beautiful design. I actually think it's whoever your freelance architect is, I think that designed something really very attractive. And it is an incredibly unique piece of property. When I drove out there, I was like, what a find. I mean, that was really quite special. And I initially was thinking that it didn't, given it the sunken nature of it, the fact there was a road around it, that it really wouldn't have an impact on anyone else. So it was very surprising and informative, the fact that you all came out and gave your opinions, because it made me rethink this. I'm just going to jump ahead to or go through the variances that have been asked for. So, well, actually, you know what? I'm just going to go straight to the FAR. The FAR was the one that caused me to hesitate. I think I understand why they're asking for 0.4, because that's what you would get if it was a completely flat lot. And to justify the 0.4, I was looking at it and thinking, well, the slope part of it is really just around the edges, and effectively it is a flat lot. So it's probably that you could make an argument to ask for 0.4. But as a commission, I think we're getting a lot of pushback, and we've granted a lot of exceptions. And sometimes I think maybe we are going too far. So I was really very uncomfortable about going with the 0.4 on this. And I wanted to hear what my commissioners had to say before making a decision. I think hearing the comments of the neighbors is helping me kind of come to a conclusion on this, but I am still going to wait to hear what everyone else says. With regarding to the setback, I think given where the property line is and given where the road is, I think visually it still kind of looks at like a 20-foot setback. So I would probably end up in a position where I could grant the setback for the front yard, the 20 feet. So I think I would probably be okay with that. And then the heritage tree removal. I think we're all in agreement that the bay trees should come out. Sounds like maybe the eucalyptus trees should come out too. That was an interesting one. And the redwood trees, I do have Commissioner Swisher's kind of a story about the tree falling on his house at the back of my mind. That was pretty serious damage. But having said that, I don't think we should remove healthy redwood trees. And when I looked at the plans to see how they impacted the development, it seems to me they're just around some outside patio area. It's not like it's affecting the house or the actual development of the house. So it wouldn't be too difficult, I think, to change up the plan to preserve those redwood trees. So I would probably come down on the side of not agreeing to removal of the trees but going with the removal of the 3 bay trees. I think I've addressed everything, right? And I'll move over. I'll move on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Wagstaff?
Okay.
And one more thing, I mean, somebody asked for a shadow study, and I know in the past when we've had brand new developments, we have granted the request for a shadow study. So doesn't mean we have to do it here, but I'm just going to put it out there. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I still have a problem with the setbacks. And I definitely have a problem with I think it's 2'4" distance from that property line on Ardmore. I'm not convinced it couldn't be Wilshire, but if that's the front yard, then the backyard should be 15 feet. So hopefully we can maybe clarify that if it continues. I think the house is generally nice, but I think it's way too big. In this particular instance, it's designed really without taking into account the neighborhood per se to give a huge backyard and push up against the property lines on other sides. So in a design sense, I think it's not a badly designed house. I think it could be smaller and should be smaller. And I think the distances to the property line, particularly on that one side, should be increased. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not going to restate. I think I'm in sort of general agreement with what my fellow commissioners have said. The design review, I guess I will restate it. Design review, I think I do think it looks nice, but I also agree that it seems big for the lot. I'm not sure I think I say this every meeting, we as a commission have sort of struggled with the current regulations in Larkspur regarding sloping lots and floor area ratio. It's not always a reasonable number that comes out of that calculation. But I think 0.4 results in a large house, and the ability for an ADU to come down the line is I think a real concern. I don't really have a huge issue with the setbacks. I can see Commissioner Wagstaff's point about shifting things around so that the backyard is a little bit smaller, and that would help the setback in the front. But I think the effective right of way of the city is pretty far away, as in like the road is well away from the house, and so I think we see those fairly often on these sort of steep roads where the right of way is much larger than the actual road. Slope use permit, I think that's fine. I'm sure that the applicant will use qualified design professionals to help stabilize any temporary slopes. And then the heritage tree removal, I think I agree with Commissioner Chalmers about if there's any way to keep those. It seems like they're sort of in hardscape, right? So it could be designed around those redwood trees, because that seems like a pretty distinct feature of the site and the neighborhood. Does anybody else have any follow-up comments?
I'd like to follow up with, I would like to see the redwoods preserved, which I didn't account for.
Okay.
So it looks like we're asking for a redesign, right?
Yeah, I think if my general sense of your comments is accurate, it sounds like the consensus is that the house is too large and should be smaller. Maybe we can discuss sort of a target for the applicant so they have something to go on. And then it sounds like we would like to try and keep the trees, those 2 redwoods, not the bay trees, but the 2 redwoods
Right.
as is. Is that? sound about right?
In terms of the size, I think reducing the FAR is something I would try and aim for. However, I wanted to address Commissioner Wagstaff's comments about the setback. Is that something you want to provide any guidance on?
I think that, at a very minimum, that one side should be at least 5 feet. You can treat it as a side yard setback, but,
You're talking about the
Which side?
the upslope side?
no, just the Ardmore Road side.
Okay.
And
So the Ardmore Road side is the front setback, according to, right, Alex? Is that
well,
right?
except that the upper Ardmore is the front yard.
Yeah, staff's interpretation.
Right, so
It's
so
ringed by a front yard setback.
so I guess I'm a little confused. So backwards. When it's not, because
Rear between
no, but that
property and 87.
Right.
There's no side setbacks on this.
right, because you have the road that circles around it. So I think we understand how we got here, but I think we're trying to figure out the Ardmore Road side is what you're designating as being subject to the front yard setback.
I'm saying we've designated Upper Ardmore and Ardmore as the front yard setback.
Oh, you're doing both at the front,
Yes.
similar to 64 Francis.
Sort of, yeah.
Right,
If you
okay.
think of it as a pie shape
Right,
crust of the pie, so to speak, would be the rear yard. The rest would be a front yard.
got it. Okay. Okay, that answers it for me.
I just feel like there's a fair amount of room that's taken up by, whether that's a lawn or a patio or whatever, that the house can move a little bit farther away from Ardmore and perhaps condense a bit too. It's just an awfully big house for the site.
Mhm. So what would we want it to come down to? Do we want to give some guidance on that? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that I'm ready to specify like if it's 0.32,
Right.
then we're good. But because I think it depends on how the house is laid out and how it's designed.
Yeah, my feeling is right now, it really seems big even for the FAR. So you can compact that house and be not that much farther off from the FAR and have it appear as a smaller impact. I don't think you can nail down a number.
Yeah. Okay, so then it sounds like we might be ready to make a motion. Is that, do you feel like you have some guidance to go on?
So the house is a stretched out house. It has a bigger impact because it takes up a long length in order to create that backyard, which I understand, the house really puts its facade out to the rest of the neighborhood. And I think you can compact that, pull it in, and still have a really nice house with a fair amount of square footage. If I were throwing out numbers, I would shoot for 0.32 to 0.35, but that's just, in the ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think it depends on, exactly
Yeah.
how it's laid out. 0.35 at a single story house would be much different. Okay, so then it sounds like we're ready to make a motion to continue this to a date, probably a date uncertain, right? Okay.
Do we want to add the eucalyptus tree removal?
Can we do that
Can we?
now or?
can you add that to your tree removal plan? Okay, so we can, might as well address it. So when do you think you can have a redesign by? Because I think we either do it to the next meeting or we do it, does there room in the next meeting? Or we would do it to a date uncertain?
I would
Do it to a date
suggest to a
uncertain?
date uncertain.
Okay,
We'd have to
right.
notice it for the next meeting
Oh,
tomorrow, which
yeah.
means we'd have to have all the specifics.
I'm getting it.
Yeah,
Oh,
date
okay.
uncertain.
Okay.
Okay, can we have a motion, please?
Okay, I'll try. So I moved to continue project number 25004 to a date uncertain and to including the removal of the 2 eucalyptus trees within the condition of approval, with the added comment that the commissioners are recommending that the 2 redwood trees not be removed and be preserved as part of your redesign.
Yeah, I think, and
Is it-
subject to some of the comments that we've discussed in this meeting, right? Like,
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'll second it.
okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Commissioner Chalmers,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Campbell.
Acting chair.
Yes. Acting Chair.
Didn't do
Okay,
it.
motion passes 4 ayes, 1 recusal.
I've already let it go to my head. Okay, in that case, we will move along on our agenda and invite Jeff back up to take over.
Well, they're all my neighbors. Yes, of course I do. All right, very good. So now we will go to,
Read everything.
okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. From Natasha, our lawyer, who likes to read everything. All right, next is 80 La Cuesta Green Bray, APN 070-264-03. PLN 25.003 Chambers and Chambers Architects for Jerry and Karen McConnell. This is a request for demolition of the existing 3,188 square foot residence and a new 5,670 square foot residence. Calls for a design review, a front setback variance, a floor area ratio exception for FAR of 0.4, whereas 0.23 is the maximum allowable, and a slope use permit to allow for 329 cubic yards of cut. 249 cubic yards will be off-hauled. Can we have the staff report?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Chair Swisher. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm pleased to be with you tonight again for this project. Share my screen. As noted, this project is 80 La Cuesta. It is located between Corte Loyola and Paseo Streets. It is on the south side as the hill goes up, with the shared driveway to 2 upper properties on La Cuesta, which is 70 and 80 La Cuesta, 70 and 90 La Cuesta. And you can see this shared driveway in the slide on the west side of the property. As noted, the entitlements include demolition of the existing home, as well as the pool and construction of a new residence, which includes an 812 square foot accessory dwelling unit and a new pool. The new pool is in generally the same location as the existing pool. There are also, the project also proposes a number of site improvements, rebuilding the site retaining wall that is between the pool and the upper yard, and the outdoor stairways that are in that location as well. Also including removal of the trees that are around the house due to construction, as well as some of the health concerns with those trees, and removal a lot of the property line trees. Actually, some of those are in the right of way of La Cuesta that are at the frontage. Many of them in the right of way. They would be replaced with 3 magnolias, which would also be in the right of way, with some English laurel behind near the front fence. The existing site plan, you can see on this, the shared driveway to the what's on the bottom of this driveway, the west side, fronts the pool. The pool is in a lower area. It will be about 1.5 feet lower in grade than the existing pool as proposed. The site retaining wall on the current site is approximately a 4-foot wall. And then there's a sloped area that slopes up to another lower site retaining wall and the upper yard area that the rear of the home walks out on. That would generally be the same with the new, although there would be no slope to the retaining wall. It would be a 10-foot retaining wall with the stairs going along the retaining wall rather than near the home. Additionally, the garage is currently non-conforming. The project is in an area that was subdivided in 1955, and many of the front setbacks were set at 15 feet at that time. So it's considered to have a 15-foot setback, front setback. However, the garage itself is 10 foot 9 inch within the front setback. And you can see on the right that is proposed to be maintained. I believe they're proposing to maintain the slab, but nothing else of the garage. That would be, given the extent of demolition, considered new construction, and therefore the front yard variance I'll discuss later is included in it. In terms of the home, it is a 3-level home. That is proposed. The lower level is mostly an ADU. And I will note for the FAR, currently the city does not give an 800 square foot bonus square foot for an ADU, as they do for existing homes that are being remodeled. Or just simply adding an ADU to. And my understanding is that may be changing, but this is a 812 square foot ADU that's proposed. The additional basement area within this, which is shaded, includes mechanical areas and the elevator shaft, lower elevator shaft for the main residence, and stairs leading up to the main floor. Additionally, underneath the exterior stairs, there is a pool and shower, a pool, bathroom, and shower proposed. The main level includes the garage, again at the existing level with some steps up that lead to an attic space. They're not shown on this, but they are shown on some of the elevations, and I'll point those out to you. The home, again, is generally within the same location as the existing, although it is being extended to the rear, including I think it's approximately 215 square foot area that would be excavated and be basement space, as it would still be the majority of it below grade. Sorry, the upper floor is set back on from the front. So the front, which is the left side of the screen, shows a deck that is over the garage, and the building itself is set back. And additionally, on the west side, which is the sort of the pool side, it is also set back as well with a deck and fireplace above. And the home is, I believe, about 10 feet back from that. In terms of the front elevation here, you can see in both the rendering and the elevation, the attic space that's proposed does have a series of windows in it. And so that is increasing the garage mass sizing with the balcony above it. We do have the outline of the existing home there. So you can see the garage is generally the limit of that to the north is, sorry, to the east upslope is approximately the same as is the extent to the west side where the pool is, although it will be basically adding an additional floor and be lowered on the poolside area. Here you can actually see which you will be able to see over the front fence, with the front fence limited to 3.5 feet. So you can see a little bit of the walkout basement and for the ADU, the pool deck, and the general location of that pool, shower, and toilet room, along with the 10-foot retaining wall that's proposed to get to the upper yard. This is the proposed west elevation. So this is something that appears as a 3-story structure, where you can see it from off-site, with the upper level setback from the two, the ADU and the main level. And then on the east side, this is the side that is closest to any adjacent neighbor. This is closest to 90 La Cuesta, which is upslope from this property. Again, you can see the outline. The height itself is, from this perspective, is not terribly taller than the existing home ridge, although it is a flat roof instead of a peaked ridge, which would be further into the site than the flat roof will come. This side does have a 27-foot, I believe, total height. And so kind of at the garage, where the garage ends and the house begins, it is sort of 21 to 27 feet without breaks or step backs. There's one break where the stucco is showing after the side entry, but in terms of any step backs for the upper floors, there are none. It is a vertical wall. And this is also showing the existing ridge line for the home on the rear south elevation. This is the sort of the upslope portion, and is remaining basically the same, where it walks out onto the upper floor yard, with a balcony and some steps down to another portion of the upper yard, although it is being pushed further back into the towards the hillside. One of the key entitlements being requested is a front setback variance. And again, the 15-foot setback is kind of shown in the large dashed red line. And I've enhanced the outline of the existing home with a red solid line so that you can see the difference in the massing. And we did receive a public comment with concerns about increasing the massing so close to the street, which echoes staff's concerns about this. The attic space, as we'll discuss, is not included in the ADU. I'm sorry, in the FAR calculations. However, you can see here it does, compared to the existing garage, which is a slip roof up to beyond the setback line to the main home. It does go beyond that and adds massing within that front setback area, which is only about 10 feet from the right of way, from the property line. I've done a square footage chart just to explain the various square footages, since they do have basement on included in 3 different components of the home, just to kind of clarify. The first floor and second floor are fairly clear, although the first floor does have 215 square feet of basement space. The lower level includes 265 square feet of for the main residence, as well as the pool bathroom that are considered basement, and 550 square feet of the ADU is considered part of that basement. The area above the garage is less than 7 feet. However, in talking with the community development director, she did feel that we should include the square footage of that, so that you understand what the scale of that is, even though it's less than 7 feet, and therefore it's excluded from the adjusted floor area, but it's about 490 square feet of space. The garage is slightly smaller, and again, as noted with the ADUs, they do not get a bonus for new construction, so that it is listed as the full 812, and the full square footage, other than the basement square footage would be included in the total. The existing property does have a pool shed that actually encroaches over the property line about 73 square feet, and that would be demolished as part of this project with the pool equipment further into the property. The existing sort of base square footage total is 7,190 square feet. With those exemptions discussed, the adjusted square footage is 5,670, which is an FAR of 0.4. We did also do a floor area ratio study. Right now, the current home is generally in line with sort of midterm with the rest of the neighborhood. The average in the area is 0.24 FAR. In this analysis, some of the additional exclusions, the ADU basement, which would be finished square footage and counted as FAR, is included here. So you can see that. That would result in a FAR of 0.47 rather than the strict interpretation of the code, which is 0.4, which is basically double what's allowed of the allowed FAR. Staff does have concerns with the scale of the home as well as the fit within the neighborhood. And so we did want to call that out, how it compares. In general, it would be, as proposed, the largest, even the the final adjusted FAR of the 5,670 square feet would still be over 1,000 square feet larger than the largest home in the neighborhood. And as you can see, the FAR that's proposed of 0.4 or this is 0.47 are both significantly above the largest home within the neighborhood. We have received 2 letters of concern with the project. One was from the Greenbrae Property Owners Association. They expressed concerns with the size of the home, and the scale, sort of bulk of the home with the flat roof. As well as a concern from a project neighbor on La Cuesta regarding also the size of the home and the setback variance with so much more bulk within the setback and proximity to the street. Given staff's concerns, we are concerned you'd be able to make the findings. So we are recommending that you deny the project subject to the findings that are included in the staff report, and hopefully provide direction to the applicant to redesign the project. Other options for the commission include discussing and continuing the project for further modifications. The reason for the staff recommendation for the denial would be the denial of a front yard variance as proposed, as well as the FAR as proposed. You could also approve it with modifications or approve it as designed. If you do elect to approve it, we would ask that you continue it to the next planning commission meeting so staff can draft findings of approval based on your deliberations. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions from the commission.
I had a quick question. Are other garages encroaching into the front yard setback?
There are a number, or a few of them at least, definitely at the 15-foot setback. There seem to be others close, about the same proximity to the street. However, they are more similar to the existing residence where it's a lower sloped roof. Most of the homes in the neighborhood are there's a number of one-story ranch homes and a number of split levels that kind of step with the hillside. And yeah, there are some that encroach just given the topography of the hillside.
But what was 15 feet allowed at that time?
Yes, when the subdivision was approved and the final map was approved in 1955, it actually called out a number of lots that had that were to have 15-foot setbacks.
Okay, and this encroaches to 12'4" or whatever.
10'9", so about
And
almost 5
okay.
feet into the 4 feet
All
in the
right.
setback.
Great, thanks.
I don't have any questions for the applicant. So anybody else have any questions? Yeah, I'd like to hear public comments and then, I mean, I'd like to hear from the applicant and then public comments, obviously, yeah, first. So come on up. Hello.
Kevin, I work for Chambers and Chambers Architects. Thank you for coming out here and meeting with us, and thank you for the planning staff for helping us out. We read the staff report. We understand your concerns. As far as the garage massing, when the story poles went up, it was pretty evident. It's very bulky out there. The owner just got back from London. She met with us this morning. We talked about revising that to get rid of that storage space and make it more similar to what it is.
Do you mind speaking into the microphone?
Yep.
Thank you.
To make it more similar to how it is now, lower and not have that big mass right at the front. So we're totally fine with that. As far as the FAR exemption, it's similar to the last project. We have kind of a moderate slope at the front where the house is, and then at the back of the site, it slopes up pretty steeply, which limits the amount of FAR we're allowed. So that's a similar situation. And as far as you guys brought up the intent of the previous applicant, the owner actually grew up in this house. She plans on living there for ever. So this isn't like a turnaround sell. It's her lifelong home.
What do you plan to do with the ADU?
Her daughter's going to live in it.
Okay.
Anything else from the applicant, the owner? Would you want to say something? Sure, of course.
So I'm the owner. And yeah, my parents designed the house originally and in fact, we moved in 1955 or 56. I think it was built in 54. But I'm not quite sure. But I was raised there. And so I appreciate the neighborhood and all the neighbors. And when we designed it, we were very careful about trying to keep in mind not impinging on anybody's, sunlight or view or anything else. And I wanted to maximize the garden as much as possible. So in actual fact, we're just going out a little bit at the back, which really nobody sees. And it's already almost a 3-story house because underneath the living room, you go down to the pool area and it's virtually a full story down there anyway. So we're not changing it that much. And because of the trees around it, very few people look in and can see anything. You see the garage. And I must admit, as Kevin was saying, when I got back from visiting my sister-in-law in London, I was shocked at how much it was coming out. So that's why we already were talking about reducing that front side a bit. So.
Okay, so a question for you. So you're saying under the living room currently,
It's almost
is it built out?
No, we just keep junk under there.
Oh, okay.
You probably would have to, you need to grade down a foot to get to the pool level or so, and then you could walk right in. So, it's already that level. So we're not changing it that much. It just looks like it when you look at the design, but nobody sees that because from the easement, you can't see in. So nobody will notice it. And the trees have to go because they're really old. They're almost dying. They were planted by my parents.
Okay. Great. All right. Any public comment? Just make sure you tell us your name and where you live.
It's on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, my name is Robert Molyneux. I am the next door neighbor at 90 La Cuesta. So I was happy to hear that Karen and Jerry and their family were going to remodel the house. But I have to say that I have some issues. I do not currently live in 90 La Cuesta. I have a tenant there. My hope was that in the years to come, it's a single family, single story home that my wife and I would end up back there. We raised 2 children there and love it. And Karen, as she said, she loves the neighborhood. I love the neighborhood too. Most of the houses are single story. There have been some renovations and rebuilds, but they've all seemed to be in line with the neighborhood. 1 story, kind of California ranches. So Karen was kind enough to invite me over at one point and talk to me about the plan she had. And maybe I misunderstood, but my understanding was that the roof was going to be raised by about 2 feet. Shame on me for not getting more into the details. I took her at her word. Now the roof line at the very top of the pitch may be going up by 2 feet, but I live on not the west side. I live on the north side of the house. And my bedroom, my primary bedroom, would be on the opposite side of the west end of our house. That wall where the original roof line is, I'm not talking about where the pitch goes up, but where the line where the gutters are, is going to go up by about, I'm guessing 8 to 10 feet from where it is right now. What that's going to do is it's going to basically put me in the dark practically for year round. I'm going to be looking at a wall. My privacy is going to be compromised. On that side of my house, I have both the windows to my primary residence and I have my vegetable garden there. They'll never see the sun again. I don't want to retire in the dark to a home like that. So I'm kind of I have to say I'm disappointed. I had hoped that it would be more like some of the other houses in the neighborhood that have done this renovation and kept the original character of the house. So I'm in a very difficult situation. I imagine that my property values are going to get somewhat harmed, which may not matter for me. I'll be dead, but nonetheless, it seems a little unfair, to be put in that position. And again, when I was told it was going to go up by 2 feet, I was like, okay, fair enough. I can live with that. So here I find myself, facing a very bleak situation, looking at whatever it's going to be, a 27-foot wall, I think, or whatever it was mentioned. I assume there'll be no windows on that side because they'll look into my bedroom. And again, that side of my house will never see the sun again. Yeah, it's not a little concerning. It's a lot concerning for me. And I know Karen's been trying to be good about this, but the reality is once I saw those flags go up, here I am. Again, I've renovated a couple houses in my time, so it's not like I haven't been there before, but this is a lot. It's a lot. So yeah.
Are we allowed to ask questions? So aren't there a lot of trees in between?
You got a lot of what?
A lot of trees in between the 2 houses now?
No,
There's not.
there's none on that side.
Oh.
It's all concrete from their house to the fence, and with the exception of my flower gardens, my vegetable gardens rather, and my flower planters alongside of my house, it's all concrete on that side of the house, the southern side of the house.
I think the rendering on page 011 gives an impression that there's a tree there, which probably does not exist.
I think not. There's hedges over by the front of the house, but
A11.
There's a big tree at the front.
It shows a tree.
oh, in front of my house.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's in front. And it's not that big anymore. It's the house, the tree that was very large, that was there died. And we've replaced it with, I think it's called a magnolia tree.
Sure, let's have everybody else who makes comment first, then you're welcome to come back up. All right. Is that it?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else in the audience want to make a comment, or is there anybody on Zoom that would like to make a comment?
Currently, no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay.
So I am sort of surprised because Bob, you didn't come to me to say that, but I actually don't think that there's going to be a huge difference in light because yes, I agree there's a pitch to the roof, but the top point of the roof is still there. And that is what's only going up a little less than 1.5 feet. And that is where the sun from the west comes there. So whether the roof is flat or pitched is going to make no difference to the light. And going at the front, because that will affect your light a little bit, we're only coming out 1.5 feet on the top level. So it's a minimal. Sorry?
Not the gutter line of the house.
No,
That's going up 10
no, the upper level, when you're looking at from the street, the upper level coming towards the street, we're only coming about 1.5 feet to the street. So not further. The problem is with the flags that went up is that those flags also indicate the balcony and not the bulk of the house. But we're going to get rid of the balcony. And so the house coming forward is only coming 1.5 feet. So that's going to have minimal, if no impact on the sunlight.
If I could just get you to speak into
Sure.
the
Oh,
microphone.
sorry.
Sorry, so we can pick you up.
It's just I was addressing him too. Sorry, do I need to say it again or? Okay. Okay, so I don't think, so from the west, the sunlight coming from the west, the only difference is 1.5 feet because whether the roof is sloped or flat on that side, I don't think makes any difference in terms of the light. And yes, the windows on that side presently are bathrooms in the house, and they're going to remain bathrooms. So it's not like we're there. In fact, there are going to be not that many windows. Look at one's a dressing room and one's a bathroom. So nobody's going to be looking down. So it really shouldn't have very much impact at all.
Have you, I don't see a shade study here. Was there one done?
No, we didn't think there was, and because I had talked to them beforehand, we didn't think about it.
All right. Because that would definitively answer, I mean, the question about
would.
the angle of the sun, I mean, with the sloped roof, you have a slope. And therefore it's the angle of the sun, if you are cutting off a whole corner, it could significantly impact the shade. So,
Yeah, I know exactly where the sun comes from, having been raised in that
that's why
house,
it's
and
hard
so-
to know
Yeah,
without that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Probably this is more for Alex than you, but maybe the architect might have to answer this, but can you help me understand? I'm looking at A 3.0 where it shows the existing house and then the new house, and I'm trying to understand how much is it actually good? Because I can see how it's expanding out from the existing kind of the outline of the house, but how much is it actually pushing out by on that north elevation?
I don't know that I have that for you right this second. I could certainly measure it in just a moment. Carrie may have the measurement.
Well, the architect should, right? Yeah, he spoke. Well, obviously, I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to understand the comment that was raised by the neighbor to see how much. If you go to, yeah, the other side. If you go to A 3.0, Alex or Carrie.
And we're thinking of the north elevation, right? Not you're looking at the front of the house.
I'm looking at the front of the house, and I'm looking at the side on the 90 La Cuesta. Right. And see how you can see the dotted red line? So the neighbor that spoke, he's on the left. You're on the left, right, of that. So your concern is that wall, you were looking at a sloped roof, and now you're looking at a straight wall and then a straight top. So my question is, how much is it actually going up by from the slope to the new flat roof? Is that 2 feet? Is it
It's about
6 feet?
It's about 5 feet.
It's 5 feet.
Because
Why are you saying that?
Because, well, this is 216.5 here,
Okay.
and then it's
Oh, you just
226
did the
here,
math.
and this is about 6 feet down.
So it's
Up
about
to
6 feet. Is that about right? It's about 6 feet there.
At the lowest point of the roof.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting 6.25 feet
6
from
and a quarter
the
feet.
edge of the eave up to the top of the new roof line.
Okay. Okay.
But bear in mind where the sun comes from, the west side sun is not going to be affected whether it's sloped or not. It's going to be the same.
Okay.
Another question for the applicant? Can you come up to the, sorry. Yeah, so on the north elevation, it shows that the house is expanding towards the north. And so is it currently just all like concrete sidewalk between the house and the fence?
Wait, you mean the
Between his house and your house?
east
essentially?
side? That's
No,
the east side. North.
No, it's
North
north
side.
side.
Is that the north side?
yeah.
Okay.
What is it?
Northeast.
Yeah, northeast. It's concrete now and it's
Is
gonna
it concrete
remain
now? Okay.
concrete, yeah.
Northeast, yeah.
And then you were saying that there's bathrooms on that side, because it looks like there's a bunch
On
of
the upper
windows, but they're
level-
small.
On the upper level right now, the only windows that are there are bathrooms.
Okay.
And in the rebuild, it'll be a dressing room, bathrooms. Oh, and there will be a high window. And
Yeah, there's like a triple
office.
pane, there's like a triple window kind of in the middle in a white.
Yeah,
pattern.
Right, Commissioner
Well,
Hall, that is identified as a master study, so an
Yeah,
office.
Sorry, an office space.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yep.
But we could also make those windows higher levels so that you're not looking down at the house at all. That's fine. Because I don't want to, invade into these.
All right. I've got a question, maybe. So we've got this like 6 or 7 foot attic space above the garage. That seems like, to me, that's going away. Is that accurate? Okay, then never mind.
And how much square feet is that going to reduce?
Oh, that's right. It's not counted.
Yeah, so it's not,
That's true.
it's not being counted right now. We did
Oh,
look
yeah.
at it with the sort of the baseline square footage of 7,190 square feet. That would reduce that number by 490 square feet.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be 6,700. That, if you look at the FAR exhibit, the chart and analysis that was done, that is based on the 6,700. So it's not including that attic space.
Oh.
Can you come up to the mic? Sorry.
Of the attic space? Just, yeah, the one that shows the attic space. The A410. That attic space is kind of a function of garage level, the main level, and the upper level. It's leftover space, so you're still gonna have it even if we remove that front part. If we remove this, we're still gonna have the attic space here.
All right.
But oh,
While you have that up, so you're gonna, can you point on the thing, which you're planning on removing?
This area.
You're removing that area, and what kind of roofing? Are you gonna have a sloped roof then, or what?
What's that?
Got it. Okay, so there'll be a small crawl space in the triangular space above that if you do a slope roof, right?
Well, that would be it.
Tiny, yeah, like a crawl space, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, we're still gonna have this space.
right. So the intent of removing that portion of the garage space is just to reduce the bulk on the front. Yeah, got it. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify, we won't be getting rid of
May I ask you?
Sure.
My name is Stephen Sussman and with Satir Landscape Architecture. And I think to allay the concerns of the neighbor, I suggest we do a sunshade study so that we can see in reality exactly how it's been affected.
Yes, that would be my recommend. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Thanks, guys.
A lot of steps.
Okay. So, public comment, I think we're done. So if I could bring it back to the commission and we'll start with the esteemed. What's that?
She wanted,
She wanted to say something, final thoughts.
She
I think
did.
you did,
She did.
actually.
Hold on.
I might just ask a question. Are you planning to spend the rest of your life in this house? Is that that might be a little,
Probably. In fact, I
Is
think
it-
my daughter eventually.
she wants to take
I
over
have
this?
2 kids who have muscular dystrophy,
Uh-huh.
and my daughter is hit the hardest, and I think eventually that's another reason we wanted the ADU. My husband also has muscular dystrophy, so eventually we probably will have to have somebody taking care of us or care of my daughter, and so we just thought it would work out quite well that way.
The reason I asked that is because you have a lot of stairs.
Yeah, but there's an elevator.
An elevator in the middle.
So I didn't see the elevator.
Oh,
In
yeah,
fact, I was
yeah.
going to go there. I was like, have you
Oh.
thought about putting an elevator in?
No, that's why we want an elevator.
There it is, elevator
And in
shaft.
fact, we've made sure that the bathrooms upstairs, or at least 1 or 2 bathrooms upstairs, are amenable to a wheelchair and things
Okay,
like that.
you actually answered my question about, have you thought about an elevator?
So on a personal note, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
what kind of dystrophy does your husband have?
Myotonic dystrophy.
Myotonic, I have FSH. Yeah.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh,
Yeah,
well.
we could talk about it sometime, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because my daughter was
I know.
doing research
Yeah,
for myotonic dystrophy
yeah.
as well.
yeah,
So.
definitely. All right, well, again, that is personal, nothing to do with the house, but
Right.
thank you. Yep. All right, well, very good. Now, are we done with the public comment? All right, so let us bring it back to the commission. And as I said, we'll start on the right side with Mr. Wagstaff.
The right side from facing out there.
To my right.
Oh, okay. So there are a lot of things about this house I like. I tend to like modern design. I actually think is too large. And in particular, the one side, which is the east side, it needs more articulation or something. It's just basically one big wall. I like the idea of lowering the front of the garage. I don't think we need to push the garage back from where it was. But I really do think that it's going to have more impact to the neighbor than a slope roof would have. And I think the shade studies will show that, but we'll have to wait and get that. But I'd like to see it reduced in size and a little bit more articulation, particularly on that one side.
I'll start from the bottom of my list here. The slope use permit, like I said before, I'm assuming that you will use qualified design professionals for that stuff. So I don't have a problem with the slope use permit. For the floor area ratio exception, I do agree that the house is large. It looks big, and I think it is big. The part that's counted is going to be much bigger than other houses in the area, and so I think that's an issue for me. The front setback variance, I agree with Brock. I think since it's there, it's acceptable. And then for the design review, I think I've said it before. Modern houses aren't my cup of tea, but it's also not my house. But I do agree that it does look it looks pretty boxy, I think, and I'm not an architect and I'm not going to try and play one up here. But I think, some more, um, changes in material or articulation could go a long way.
I don't like the design, I'll be honest and blunt. I I like modern houses. I don't like flat roofs. And this one just seems really just a big, massive flat roof. Like I could usually like come to terms with a flat roof, but this one just seems like just a big, 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 big piece of just flat roof. And I think that the house is just too big for the lot. The story poles were, I remember when I saw them the other day, I was just like, whoa, okay, this is a really big house. Um, I'm okay with leaving the garage footprint where it is, with that take back of the space above it. I was definitely not gonna be in favor of that. I'm glad that that's already being taken away. Um, and that one wall between on, I guess, 90 La Cuesta side, um, it just it needs more. I don't know what it needs. I'm not an architect, but I just think it's ugly. It's just, this big long flat wall and there's no other than windows. Yeah, but you've got, slope roofs and, there's a little bit, this is just, you've got a flat roof on the top and a flat side and it's just really square. I mean, my first thought when I saw the design was it looked like an office building, not a house. So, um, it just needs something to make it, I don't know, softer, I guess.
So I actually tend to agree with most of what I heard tonight from my fellow commissioners. I'm not going to go into in any amount of sort of great detail, except to say that I actually do like the modern design. I think it's and this is a very personal and subjective when it comes to actually styles of design. Um, some people love it, some people hate it, some people just don't mind it. So it's I actually did like I do on the positive side appreciate how you kind of try to minimize the impact of the front sort of wall by doing the split colors. So I think all of that was great. But as everyone said, I think it's big, it's blocky. Um, it doesn't quite fit into the neighborhood because of its size and of that kind of look. In fact, the house on the other side of the private road, I mean, that's only a one-story house, but it was a beautiful design, and that also is somewhat modern. Oh, it does have a second story? Oh, I mean, I thought that was a nicely designed house, the white one. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't think that I really need to add anything else, but I think we would love to, well, I guess I'll say one thing is, FAR, if you can, we're trying, we're already going beyond the FAR ratios on many of the requests that have come in. And I think people are now starting to push the envelope quite a lot. And we've got to kind of draw a line at some point. And we are looking at the rules right now anyway. But it's got to be kind of in my opinion, I think it needs to be a reasonable request. And I think reducing the side would reduce the FAR as well. So that would sort of solve that problem. So yeah, those are my comments. I think, well,
Why don't you wait till I'm done and then? I mean, I think people need to design the house they're happy with. I think that's important, but I also think that they have to fit into neighborhoods to a certain extent. And one of the reasons we have design review is for that very reason, that we take into account your personal preferences and then consider your neighbors and the neighborhood that it's in. And it is subjective to some extent. So we understand that. So I agree with my fellow commissioners. Let's start from the bottom. I have no problem with the slope use and taking the fill out. The floor area, I agree, it's too big. And it's a big house. 5,670 square feet is a very big house, especially when the neighborhood houses are nowhere near that. I think that I think you should be shooting for an FAR of no more than 0.3. I think that would be the max where I think a house of this, where it's located, would be an ideal size. That may involve redesigning it so that it's not a 3-story house, but maybe making it a much lower house, which I think would fit nicely with this landscape if you were just to bring it back and redesign it. Again, I have no issue with the setback variance either for the garage, but I do appreciate your attempts to decrease the bulk. So I can't make the findings for the floor area exception as it is now. I think you should go back to the drawing board a little bit and redesign the house to make it look more compatible with the neighborhood. And those are my feelings.
Can I add one more thing to that? Is just since we did have one neighbor come out today, and if you're going to do a redesign, maybe you can take into consideration bringing down that side of your well, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Thank you.
Also, this shade study. That'd be one of the, when we do make finding. Karen, go ahead.
Well, just going to make one comment though. So the reason it's 3-story is because we wanted the ADU, and I didn't want to take any space away from the garden for the ADU. And I thought this tucked in really nicely because it's essentially already there.
Yeah.
We just had to grade down about 1.5 feet and that's it. And
Yeah.
so first there's that aspect. And then second, we obviously need more space in most houses because of wheelchair access and all of that. So
Sure.
just to bear that in mind.
There is a happy median in there, I think. I think that you're on the right track, and I think it's going to be a beautiful house when you do redesign it. But I think you need to knock off 1,000 square feet off of this house.
But I'm
Because-
not.
I don't-
Nobody's here suggesting we take away the ground floor, are we?
No, I was going to say, I don't
You don't need to do
actually have an issue with
ADU down at-
people going below grade. I mean, it doesn't count towards the FAR, so it's not as
Agreed. It's the other.
intrusive to neighbors and stuff. So, I mean, if it's expensive, but that's not an issue for me. I don't know. You guys.
Yeah, no. I just think aesthetically, I think you'll fit more in the neighborhood, and I think you'll design a really beautiful house. Your architect already is obviously very skilled, and I think that you'll be able to go back and do a really nice design with this. It's just reducing the boxiness, the bulk, and more compatibility with the neighborhood sizes. Personally, I think that'll end up in the long run. It'll cost less to build. It'll also, I think, make you very happy. So I hope. All right. So would somebody like to make a motion, please?
I guess, have we provided enough feedback that you feel like you have some guidance? Okay. I'm assuming this will take longer than the next meeting. Right.
Continue it.
All right. So I move to continue application PLN 25-003 to a date uncertain.
I'll second.
Oh, so do we have to add subject to the shade study and all of that?
No,
Do you want us to say any of that?
It sounds
No.
like they understand
Right.
the direction. Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Commissioner Chalmers,
Yes.
and Chair Swisher.
Yes.
Did anybody second that?
Yes,
I did,
Commissioner
yeah.
Hall.
Oh,
did
okay,
second.
good.
So the motion to continue passes 5 yeses.
All right. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks very much. Karen, give me a call sometime. I'd love to hear about. I don't with me, but I'll give you my phone number. I mean, I always am interested in hearing. I was diagnosed when I was 41. Just give
How
me
old
one
are your
sec.
girls?
My kids are adults now, but my daughter was diagnosed when she was a freshman in college. The worst was that she was an athlete and she was
Yeah, so was I.
trying out for the Olympic team and in field hockey.
Yeah.
Because she was raised in England
Yeah.
and so her field hockey is amazing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it went off. And then we found
Yeah,
out.
I'd love to talk to her. Yeah, just text me. We'll
Okay.
talk. All right, thanks. Okay, see you. Thanks for coming in. All right. So business items. Approve May 13th, May 27th, and June 10th Planning Commission minutes. Do we have any comments on the minutes?
Did we get June 10th? I thought I just got the May
Yeah,
ones.
I don't believe you got you.
Okay, so how about approve May
Continue.
13th and May 27 minutes?
I had a comment on the May 27th minutes, even though I wasn't there, but I think the minutes say May 25th, right? I thought
The
mine.
date is May 27th, but it said in the,
I didn't get those
somewhere it
minutes.
said May 25th, but it is May 27th.
Oh, that's why. Yeah. Okay, well, let's make sure that it reflects the proper date for the
It does
minutes,
the proper date.
which is
Oh,
May
it does,
27th.
okay.
I would move to adopt May 13th minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I.
Yeah,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, next, and we do not have June 10th.
Should we,
May 27th, I would move to accept May 27th minutes.
I thought we did on bulk.
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
Can we do a roll
Because
call vote?
Because people were missing. a
Got it,
different one.
understood.
so we have a motion to approve as amended. Do we have a second?
Which?
I'll second
which are
for
these?
May 27th.
Oh,
I'll second.
Okay. Moment. Commissioner Wagstaff,
yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
I'll abstain.
Yes,
Commissioner Swisher, Commissioner Chalmers,
Which ones are we doing?
27th.
27th.
I don't even have.
Oh, this
You have them right.
Oh, yeah, this one's fine. Yeah. Yes.
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 Commissioner Hall.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimous.
Did we need to do a vote on 13th?
Who wrote the minutes for the May 27th?
One of our admin assistant, Laura Beth, writes the minutes.
She did a really good job on that.
I'll pass that along.
And who did May
She
13th?
does all the minutes. So.
Oh, this looked like it was written by two different people, but okay.
May 13th minutes, motion to approve those.
We got that.
We already did it.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you. All right.
if you'd like to do a motion to continue June 10th.
Let's do a motion to continue June 10th.
I move to continue the June 10th minutes.
I'll second.
Okay,
All in
Commissioner
favor?
Wagstaff,
Yeah.
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Chair Swisher,
Yeah.
Commissioner Chalmers.
Yes.
Commissioner
All right.
Hall, excuse me.
Yes.
All right, and next item is planning commissioners reports. Anybody have any reports?
We do.
We've got one, yeah.
Excellent. Wow.
You want to say it together? One,
Yeah.
two.
We were.
Commissioner Wagstaff and I and Alex and Elise and Sky Woodruff, the city attorney, met as a part of the subcommittee for floor area ratio rules reexamination. We didn't come to any, definitive conclusions, but I feel like we gave some direction to staff on some sort of next steps. And I think we've got a sort of a general direction that we'd like to go.
And I think we were gonna have two city council people appointed to join that commission, to join us.
Yes, if I remember the discussion correctly, we were gonna refine the idea a little bit and then work with city council.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you just doing the research right now, or are you actually at the point where you're making a proposal of
So
what to change?
staff has already done
Really
research.
good research.
Yeah, on other jurisdictions in our area.
Ah.
And so we kind of looked at that and looked at at the stuff that exists in Larkspur. And we're sort of trying to see what fits best.
Okay,
And so I think the idea was that we'd sort of refine an idea and then bring it to the whole commission during a meeting. So that way we're not
And I think
discussing the nitty gritty here.
what we found was that Corte Madera probably comes as close as anybody to what might work for us as well. And in fact, the Twin Cities, at least that was a concept when I was a kid, so. Corte
Okay.
Madera, Larkspur.
that's great.
Just curious, for an example, say like 111 Wiltshire or whatever its number is now on Ardmore. Is there an idea of looking at a property like that, which is really unique, and saying we're only going to look at the flat area, measure that, and use that for the floor area ratio calculation?
There hasn't been, I don't think anybody does it that way that I know of.
I think that would be really tricky because there would be like what would constitute the flat
Flat,
area in some lots, et cetera. I mean, that's a really unique lot. I mean, but you know, there are similar ones around Larkspur. My house is out.
But I do,
Come over, you can see.
obviously, we need to take into account slope and
Yeah.
in some way that we don't have to have these conversations every project.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you just looking at slope lots or are you planning to change anything on flat lots?
Flat, small lots. So again, 0.4 FAR on a 4,000 or 4,500 square foot lot like mine makes a pretty small house.
Right.
So,
Okay.
We were kind of looking at areas that we have seen a lot of exceptions, and a lot of those are sloped lots and small lots, like, for example, Heather Gardens, which is,
yeah,
so.
they had these great diagrams with all those little dots that.
Yeah.
This is great, by the way. I really appreciate you doing this. I think it's about time, and and the number of people who've come in, you know, who complain about why we're making so many exceptions. I think we should address the rule. So thank you for taking the time to do that.
Yeah, I mean, to be candid, it's sort of frustrating being up here and having to explain it every meeting, because
yeah.
it seems like we encounter this a lot. So
Yeah.
looking
So
forward to
thank you.
getting it fixed.
Thank you so much, and hurry up.
Knew that was
All right. Well, thank you. Any other commissioner reports? All right.
Next meeting.
Next item is adjournment.
Mm.
So it's-
Next meeting, July.
I move
8th.
we adjourn.
next meeting is July 8th. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is everyone here for that? Can we?
Yep.
Now we're getting into summer. Okay.
I second Brock's motion to adjourn.
Yeah. Thank you.
Consensus, all in favor?
Yes.
All right. All right. We are adjourned.
Yay.
Recording.